think we playing about Michael? Drop that motherfucker. Drop that motherfucker and see what happens. Drop that motherfucker. Your subscribers gonna drop. Y'all think we playing about Michael? Y'all think we playing about Michael? Nah. This a new generation, baby. This a new generation, baby. Drop that motherfucker. This ain't what we want. Drop that motherfucker. Drop it. Show us you bad. This ain't back in the day. We will cancel y'all ass. Y'all won't have a subscriber in this motherfucker. Drop that bitch then. Drop it. Show me. Show me, motherfucker, the child bad. Who bad? Netflix, you bad? Come on, drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Drop it.
Jordy Chandler said Michael Jackson was circumcised. We know from Michael Jackson's autopsy, the King of Pop was uncircumcised. That's a glaring discrepancy. One may call that a fatal discrepancy. That's not a fact you get wrong about someone when you are familiar with their anatomy. Think of it like this. 2 grand juries were convened, one in LA, one in Santa Barbara, each charged with investigating these molestation allegations against Michael Jackson. After an 18-month investigation, neither grand jury was able to return an indictment. Importantly, the burden of proof in grand jury proceedings is as low as it goes. The prosecution does not have to prove to the grand jury that the subject of the investigation is guilty, or even guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The prosecution only has to establish that there is probable cause that the subject of this investigation committed these crimes. Probable cause is the lowest burden of proof. It's like, based on what the prosecution said, probably, maybe, could be true. You also need to understand that in grand jury proceedings, the grand jury is only hearing the prosecutor's side of the case. The subject of the investigation does not get to be present for grand jury proceedings. They do not get to defend themselves. They do not get to send an attorney in there to cross-examine prosecution witnesses. Grand jurors only hear one side of it. After 18 months of only hearing the prosecution side of it, both grand juries refused to return an indictment, with grand jurors walking away saying no damaging evidence was heard. This case was about overzealous prosecutors hell-bent on getting an indictment against Michael Jackson and a really global media jonesing for that money shot. Michael Jackson paraded into a courtroom after conviction, no hair, no makeup, stripped bare in a way we had never seen him. Even though the media led us all to believe Jordy Chandler was able to provide identifying information about Michael Jackson's genitalia, you will never find an official report from that investigation showing you that that incriminating evidence did in fact exist. There's been implications, there's been suggestions, but you can find no, go ahead, try. You will find no proof that an official report was ever made indicating that that evidence did in fact actually exist. Common sense tells you it didn't exist. You'd have to be out of your mind to believe 2 separate grand juries heard testimony that Jordy Chandler, a little boy, was able to provide identifying information about Michael Jackson's genitalia, yet declined to return an indictment against Michael Jackson for child molestation. You think these grand juries heard that evidence and didn't think that was enough to say, well, probably, maybe, could have happened? If that evidence had existed, you best believe both of those grand juries would have heard it and they would have returned an indictment. The prosecutors and the investigators are never going to step forward and tell you they were this bad wrong. They're human, just like all of us. That's hard to do, especially in a public-facing prosecution like this. These guys never back down, and they never will. Because how foolish, how cruel, how incompetent do they appear when the world finally discovers what little evidence of really no value whatsoever these investigations proceeded on, costing the state of California millions of dollars. They had nothing. 18 months trying to find something and couldn't find anything, and they just let the media convince us all that all this incriminating evidence existed when it did not exist. In addition to investigations in Santa Barbara County and LA County, the FBI investigated these allegations against Michael Jackson for almost 10 years, and after 10 years of exhaustive investigation, the FBI said they found no evidence of criminal conduct on Michael Jackson's part. But you never heard that on the news, did you? Let me also add that usually in these investigations like this, investigators will say there's not enough evidence of criminal conduct. The evidence is not sufficient to get a conviction at trial, so we're done. The FBI said there's no evidence. Not that the evidence was insufficient. The FBI said there is no evidence of criminal conduct on Michael Jackson's part. It not only offends, it disgusts my sense of justice that the world sat back and let this man be destroyed. The blood wasn't on the dance floor. The blood was on the hands of every media personality, talking head who held a microphone or a camera and knowingly misled us all as to the strength of the evidence against Michael Jackson. And people still believe it today.
Yo, so we back in here for another edition of F-ya-Motha, and yeah, what that lady said. Now I grew up during the Michael Jackson scandal. I think I might have been 1993. I was 10 years old. 94, 95, 11, 12. So I was old enough to remember. I seen this shit. Unlike you these new age idiots, we didn't have social media, so it wasn't like we had television. Right, that was our social media, and they had actually somewhat aired this shit. But when he was actually exonerated both times in 93 and in 2005, it was swept under the rug. Like that's not sensational, so it didn't get a lot of airplay. They act like it didn't exist, right? But yeah, my man was investigated for over 10 years. There was no probable cause, even though they took pictures of his genitalia. His genitalia was actually described incorrectly by alleged victims. Was it? I want to say 20 years later, the little Hawaiian kid that parents said that Michael Jackson touched him went on an interview and said that never happened. He made it up. His family was just trying to extort Michael Jackson, which I think in itself should have been illegal. I think the family should have been charged with making false statements, and because they dragged it through trial and civil litigation, and because Michael Jackson actually paid in a settlement, not necessarily because he was guilty, but because he was trying to actually get the shit over and done with, right? I don't want to stretch this out. This is bullshit. It's hindering me from touring, recording. I got to keep popping up and going to court appearances. So let me just peel them off some bread. But when everything was said and done, the allegations, they didn't stick because they were unfounded. And like she said, they investigated him for 10 years, from 93 to about 2003. Subsequently, he was indicted again in 2005, so they didn't find anything. And I tell people all the time, people always like to say, well, he was rich and powerful and yada yada yada. In America, it don't matter if you rich as a black person. The judicial system is predicated off of indicting black men from whatever socioeconomical background. They didn't give a fuck that Michael Jackson was a superstar, right? The motherfucking prosecutors and district attorneys, they weren't starstruck like regular people, so they didn't give a fuck. Like a lot of people seem to think that, like in the case of like R. Kelly or what's the nigga name, Bill Cosby, like being rich doesn't really matter. If the state got a chance to indict your black ass, they go indict your black ass. There's no escaping it, in the words of Beatnuts. So the fact that people think that Michael Jackson, oh well, he got away with it, how, nigga? This nigga, like, people fail to realize that people, like the judicial system, these motherfuckers are racist. Any time they go after a black man to burn them, they gonna do it. Just like when people make the allegations that Martin Luther King cheated on Coretta Scott King, he was under investigation by COINTELPRO and the FBI director J. Edgar Hoover. If he had substantial evidence that Martin Luther King was having an adulterous affair, he would have exposed it. Like it's like people, non-black people, they missed the link between race. And these are the liberals, not necessarily the racist motherfuckers. These are people that they're liberals. They be quote unquote on our side, right? But they miss the link. They'll say in one breath that racism exists, right? They'll admit that, but somehow a nigga with money elude racism. Let me explain to people, racism is that fucking stupid. They don't care if you got money. Just like they didn't care in the 50s or the 40s. If you had bread, they still didn't want to let you buy shit. You can come in there with all the money in the world. We ain't selling you shit, right? That's how illogical racism is. So just because they had money doesn't mean they could have bought their way out of a criminal charge, especially if the criminal alleged act, happened to a white person or a non-black person. They gonna take any opportunity they can to seize to get your ass and put you behind bars because you black. Period. I mean, I don't know, but the majority of non-black people, namely clear people, operate under a low IQ. So then there's that. Like logic doesn't make sense. Like I just did a video about how black people, Chud the Builder using the N-word is offensive, and I literally, in the course of explaining why it was offensive, because it's a racial slur when said by white people or non-black people, the motherfucker actually said that, oh, it doesn't make sense that you use the slur. Sir, as a cultural norm with the word, according to linguistics, when we use it, right, the connotation doesn't carry the same meaning. Just like in Spanish, you have feminine connotations to words and you got masculine connotations to words. They don't mean the same thing, right? In context. If a man calls a woman a puto, he ain't doing it in a nice way. If he's calling a man a puto, it's either or, but it's usually in a joking manner, right? Doesn't carry the same connotation. It's the same thing with the N-word. If we say nigga, we're saying it in jest. We're saying it some black people use it as a term of endearment, as fucked up as that is, because it's a derogatory word. Like, the meaning of the word is different because the spelling of the word changes the connotation, right? It's not nigger, it's nigga. So the connotation, according to linguistics, when you change the spelling of a word, you change the meaning of it. You can place any meaning on the word that you see fit. That's language. That ain't me talking. You got a problem with that, take it up with people that study and actually know linguistics. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I don't know. I just lost my train of thought as to what the fuck that had any bearing effect. But yeah, culturally, yeah, we say shit. It's different meanings, right? But people with low IQs don't understand that. Just like they won't understand when you lay out superbly why Michael Jackson didn't fondle them children. And there's evidence to prove that he didn't. Namely, the fact that the description of his genitalia was incorrect. They get dates and times and acts like fabricated. These are like literally known. Like, you can, if you want to, anybody that wants to investigate the Michael Jackson trials, both of them in 93 and 2005, it's online. This is open records. So this isn't some shit that you could take my word for. You could literally investigate the shit yourself. And got right here in the 2005 June 13th in verdict on 10 counts, all not guilty. So even on the lesser charges, the misdemeanors, not guilty, right? So people want to believe what they want to believe because of two reasons. They're too stupid to investigate the truth, or they don't want to believe the truth. Either way, Netflix is actually talking about putting out a docuseries detailing the alleged victimization of these lying ass kids. Let's just call them what the fuck they is. They lying ass kids and their parents trying to extort Michael Jackson. So, and Netflix is some culture vultures that's trying to profiteer off a dead man. So if they put out this docuseries, all the people that's real Michael Jackson fans and people that are fans of the truth, like, drop them. There's Hulu, there's Peacock, there's HBO, there's Paramount, there's all these other platforms that you can stream shit. You don't have to. Netflix got shitty ass content anyway. That's why I fucking unsubscribed, deactivated my account, because other than the Dave Chappelle comedy stand-up series, like, I didn't want to watch all that bullshit. They always got a knack for their Netflix original content, crowbar some LGBT shit, and they got nothing to do with the damn plot. So, like, I ain't fucking with them. In any event, if y'all like this episode, you know what to do, and I'm out.
No.